Hey, you fucks. Thanks for, checking out the videos, showing a little bit of support. How about you take it to the next level and show us some love over there on Patreon, huh? Huh?
Yo, 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 what the fuck is up there, everybody out there on YouTube? It's always your boy Papa Tikio coming to you live from another sexually fueled awesome rant. And yeah, today we're talking about all this fun stuff, including bad people doing bad stuff in our beloved sacred holy samurai country of the sushi. And yeah, anyway, welcome back. Thanks again for joining me on my weekly Wednesday podcast here. Yeah, don't worry, guys. There will be blended, once it gets warmer. It probably, by the time I've released this, that it has gotten significantly warmer, and there probably is a blend of walking and bike and at-home rants, so that'll be good. But anyway, yeah, guys, how you doing today? Hello, everybody in the premiere chat. Before I get started, don't forget to smash like button, guys. Leave a comment. God damn it, I need that fucking engagement. Oh, sweet Jesus, why? And anyway, one fun thing about this rant series, is that I get to it forces me to research stuff before I talk about it, or at least refresh myself. And also, it just it doesn't force me, but it makes me it's nice to it reminds me to do stuff that I wouldn't do, or I should do more often, right? For example, I really want to do more rants on talking about Japanese movies, Japanese TV and stuff. And I know barely anybody watches these or listens to these, but the fun thing is that it's oh, there's a TV show that I've been wanting to watch for a while, and it's but what am I gonna do if I just watch it? And it's well, why don't you just watch it so then you can talk about it afterwards? And it's oh yeah, that's cool. Have kind of an informal review series through my rants, and I'm I can do that. That sounds like fun. And so yeah, that's kind of what this series has turned into. It's just I mean, of course there's other topics and shit we talk about as well, but I like it how a sub series or a subgenre of these rants is that I can talk about things like movies or other media related stuff anime, video games, and sometimes even trending stuff like the news. And the Chinese tourist thing, that hasn't been a really trending topic, at least at the moment right now, but throughout throughout the year, in last year or whatever, there were little incidents that popped up. Basically, ever since Corona kind of stopped and opened up Japan again, there's been a lot of people coming out, and there's that always famous saying. I forgot who said it on the news, if it was a Japanese person or American person, but they were they're I don't like Chinese people, but I like their money. And it's that pretty much sums up the whole fucking thing that we're talking about today. Is that all these people, they love the money, they don't like the people. And it's sad, because it's you don't want to make a broad statement like that, but at the same time, you need it's you can only base things based on your own experiences, right? And it seems a lot of people have had a lot of bad experiences with Chinese tourists over the years. And yeah, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how these countries are dealing with it, how China's dealing with it, and yeah, and my 2 cents on the whole thing as well, because there's a lot of broad things to talk about regarding this. And I don't know, it's just one of those topics that I've wanted to chime in on and give my 2 cents on, not just on my live streams, but here as well. So, and it's good too, because I just got done filming my monthly update. And I'm trying to record these rants every day at home during the weekdays, and I was oh my god, record 2 rants today? I got other stuff to do. But I'm it's part of my Rain Man routine, 5 minutes to Wapner, assy moose, and I'm I gotta record another daily rant, not just the monthly rant. I gotta record the daily rant too. And so that's what we're doing. But anyway, before I get into anything else like that, let me chime in here and say thank you, everybody who comes over and supports me over here. Let me do a little self promo. I don't make any money off of the views on this channel, and when I do, it's not much. And so regardless of if I don't think I'm shadow banned, because it's just these topics are really niche or whatever. But yeah, sometimes YouTube demonetizes my stuff, sometimes for good reason, a lot of time just for shizen reason. But whatever, the point is that this channel, this whole YouTube experience is 100% fan funded. And so if you guys want to show your support for the channel, you know what to do. Go over to patreon.com/TKOSam. The link's down below, and check out all the bonuses, anything that you want, you know, within reason. And it's cool. Like, there's so many bonuses over there. There's digital content, there's physical content, and also you get your name at the end of these videos to show that you're a supporter of mine. Anyway, if you're curious about that, go over and check out the link down below. And if you don't like Patreon for whatever reason, you can still support me on YouTube by dropping a super chat or super thanks, or becoming a member, especially on the main TKO Sam channel. Each membership on each channel of mine is like less than $1.50. And you get a bunch of bonuses when you sign up for it. It's just nice. I love seeing the green names during the premiere and during the live streams here, and it really just helps out the channel. So, you know, thank you very much. Love you long time, etc. And yeah, speaking of awesome people who do super chats and super thanks, let me shout out the big awesome super chat or super thanks of the week. Yeah, big shout out and thank you to you, Mr. or Mrs. whoever you is. And if you want your name to show up here too, you know what to do. Drop a super chat during the premiere live stream, or drop a super thanks into the comment section. You know, you guys give me love, so I give a little bit back. Oh, just a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And yeah, if you guys don't want to throw money at me, that's fine. You can still help out the channel by, again, smashing the like button, leaving a comment. And I guess the question of the day is, have you guys encountered any bad Chinese tourists, or like any tourists in general, but specifically if you have any Chinese bad tourists? I have one in particular that I'm going to be talking about that just happened to me like the other week. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious to see if you guys have had that. And yeah, that's the thing. And yeah. And don't forget to join the Discord. We have an awesome community of very based young lads and girl lads there. And yeah, the link is down below for that. Just make sure you write down a self-intro, so then you can get, you know, what do you call it? You get allowed to be inside the Discord and interact with all the people. And also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I'm very active on Twitter now that it's based and Elon took it over. And yeah, I don't know. If you want to see some cool shit, go on to my Instagram as well. That's pretty badass. But anyway, let's get into the topic now, shall we? And yeah, guys, it's just it's so funny. Like, I always tell people, like, I never had a problem with other Asian people until I moved to Japan. I remember, like, the first year I came to Japan, I went out drinking with one of the principals and like the other school members and stuff. When I first, like, one of the first schools I went to, they had like a welcoming or going away party. I can't remember what the theme was, and the principal was this really, like, just, you know, some schools I would talk to the principal a lot. Some schools I didn't really talk to him. And this guy, I barely talked to him, but I just remember him getting drunk. And, God, what picture? Did I take a picture with the... This is before smartphones came out, so I must have taken the picture with, like, my old Casio digital camera or something. But I don't know where that picture is, but I remember I took it, and it's just, this guy's just shit-faced, and he's in a suit, and he's giving the most non-professional face of just like, fuck yeah, man, like, kind of face. And it was really funny. It was really good. But, and that's the great thing about being a foreigner, too. Like, they don't mind. I think in that one, I'm dressed all kind of wacky, and, like, my hair's all gelled up, and I'm wearing sunglasses, even though it's inside, and he just didn't give a shit. I mean, that's the fun thing, right? Like, people like, as long as you don't piss people off, you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. And, yeah, but I just remember him being like, you know, he was like, Samson, you want to be Japanese? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, first thing you must do, you must drink miso soup every morning. I'm like, okay, I gotcha. He's like, second thing you must do is hate the Koreans and Chinese. And I'm like, what? And he's all drunk and saying that, but he's like full on, like, serious. And I'm like, and I remember, like, being like, my liberal crying heart, how could Japan be so racist? Why? And now it's like, after almost 20 years here, I'm like, yeah, I totally see where that guy's coming from. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty Japanese. Like, you know, I think it's like, you don't do it to conform, you do it because you start agreeing with what they're saying. And it's not like I hate everybody, you know, it's just like, but the pattern of mainland, and I'm not talking about Taiwan, I'm not talking about Hong Kong, I'm talking about specifically mainland Chinese tourists coming here, and like hell, like I'm not even scraping the surface of this shit. You guys want to go into deep in detail just about Chinese people being bad and stuff. And again, it's not racist. I think it's more about like, it's not about like your race. It's like where you grew up kind of thing, right? It's more of like a cultural normative shit versus like a DNA based thing, right? And so it's like mainland Chinese or like Chinese people that grew up abroad versus Chinese people that grew up in mainland China. It's a totally different breed kind of thing, you know, different mentality kind of shit. And but yeah, it's just like you know, like I'm not a business owner, right? But I have friends that are, and it's like I read the same news that the Japanese people read every day. And when somebody does something, especially when it's unprovoked, like, and it's in a country that's been really good to you, you take it personally, you know? You're like, how dare you do this to the country that I love and respect, you piece of shit. And then, but then, like, now, like, after time, I've, like, come to the conclusion that it's like, oh, it's not really, you know, like, the problem is that, like, the politicians and all the people that are in charge of this country, they don't care about the small little, like, problems that, you know, small business owners or like regular people have to deal with when it comes to these people, because all the politicians care about is that these tourists are contributing to the, you know, society, to the economy by spending a lot of money here. And that can't be good. That's not, it's like that scene in Seinfeld where he's got that rat covered hat, and then he's trying to dry it off, and then it gets all over the guy's food in the restaurant, and he's like, that's not good, and the guy's like, that's not good for anyone. And yeah, you know, it's like yeah, you know, unfortunately it's one of those things where people are like, well, China has one of the biggest populations. I think it's the biggest population in the world, right? And so of course, like when you have people mass like traveling for tourists and shit, of course you're going to have a higher number of bad cases when they're one of the biggest tourist groups or whatever, right? And so it's like, it's not fair to compare that to like another population, right? Because like the numbers are way bigger than other countries, right? Yeah, but at the same time, it's like you call a spade, right? Like, you know, if it looks like a duck quacks like a duck, it's like a duck, right? And so yeah, let me check my notes here. So we've got so it says here, talk about what it used to be like. So when I first came to Japan, and feel free, if any of you guys have been in Japan longer than me, or you were here earlier and like you have other experiences, please let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear what your guys' experiences were like, because like I know specifically Joshi, one of my viewers, he lived here before I moved here, so maybe he'll remember some stuff. But it's like you know, when I first came here, I remember Chinese people were in groups. Not the Chinese people that lived and worked here. I meant like Chinese people that were tourists here. They would come in these scheduled tour groups on tour buses, and it was good because it's like China didn't want their people overstaying and running away from China. Like they didn't want that. And on top of that, you know, like Japan was like, look, I know a lot of these, because like back in the day, like right now, it's like Vietnamese, Sri Lankan, Turkish, like Malaysian. A lot of other countries have more people coming over here to do labor jobs and simple shit. But back in the day, it was mostly like Chinese and Korean, right? That was like a big population. So these people would come here to study or come here to work and then overstay their visa, or they'd come here for tourism and then they'd overstay their visa. But in order to make it so they didn't overstay their visa here, they put them in tour groups. And the reason why is that if somebody ran away from the tour group would be in trouble, and that company would be in trouble. And if that company got in trouble, then they wouldn't be able to allow people to come here. And I don't know how stringent it was, but it seemed like it was pretty stringent for a travel company to get approval to operate in Japan from China. And so if they fucked up one too many times, there you go. You don't get to operate your company here anymore because you had too many Chinese people run away, and you know, and there you go. And then like I guess to approve a travel company, there was a lot of checks and balances that they had to go, and like it was a long application process, right? So if you really wanted to operate here, you really had to follow the rules. And I don't remember when it changed. Maybe some of you guys who are better informed than me would know, but like eventually it changed so Chinese people could just come over here whenever they, you know, like as long as they had the money and they went through the right whatever it was, they didn't need to go through tour groups anymore. And I was watching a video about this before I started recording this, and apparently China has a thing now where the Japanese consulate in a lot of Chinese places, like I guess like places in China, they were telling the travel agencies that set it up so Japanese people can come over here, or Chinese people can come over to do tourism, that they have to vet them. And vet them by like checking like what is their job, are they employed, how much savings do they have, like really kind of scrutinizing what they're doing, because they don't want these casual fucking entitled douchebags to come over here, right? And so yeah, because like mostly it's Chinese people with money that come over here, right? And there but at the same time, just because you have money doesn't mean you got class or manners, right? Like, it reminds me of that old interview clip with what is it, Mr. T, right? He's decked out in all this nice clothing and jewelry, but he's wearing these battered shoes. And the person interviewing him was like, why are you wearing these ratty old shoes? And he's like, dude, I grew up poor. I just became rich. I don't want to forget where I came from and that I could easily go back there. And so this is time to keep me grounded and keep me humble. And you know, it's like, I think that is like a very cool rich person, right? Somebody who realizes, like, you know, people have it worse than them and they should be grateful. And then you got Chinese tourists. You know, Chinese tourists, like, I saw a clip the other day where in Asakusa they have a lot of food stalls and stuff. It's like kind of the old school place in Tokyo, and like very big for tourism, for like traditional Japan tourism shit in Tokyo. And they have these food stalls where they have like food on a stick and it's being displayed. And these Chinese tourists would just come up, take a bite, and be like, yeah, I don't want to eat that. And it's like, hey, I didn't say you could eat that, motherfucker. And they're like, yeah, well, too bad, you know, whatever. What are you going to do about it, bitch? And it sucks because it's like, you know, no big political movement is going to happen. Like, no laws are going to change. So then it's up to the businesses to adapt to these shitty people. And it just takes like a few people to ruin a good party, right? To ruin a good thing. And so these assholes, they'll come here and they'll do that. And so like this shop has to change their whole thing. So it's like, oh, you can see this. And then they have to put up a sign in Chinese saying, you can't eat this. There's no free samples. And it's just like, you need to adapt to the times because the times aren't going to adapt to you. And, you know, like having that kind of innocence of Japan where they're like, yeah, like we're here to just have fun, to let you guys like experience the culture, and we're not trying to be overbearing dicks about anything. And then you got the Chinese tourists coming in and being like, yeah, I'm just gonna take a bite of that. And they're like, hey, that's not a free sample, what are you doing? Well, I don't see it written anywhere. Or being like, I don't speak Chinese, or I don't speak Japanese, what's your problem? And it's like little things like that happen a lot here, and like enough that people start noticing, right? And like even the other day I went into I think it was Bic Camera in Akihabara. I was out there with these two nice ladies, and I was like, I'm sorry, I gotta take a piss. And the restaurant we were in, they closed their bathroom 30 minutes before the business closed. Like, what business does that? But anyway, I was like, yeah, I guess I gotta go in here and take a piss. I go into this bathroom, and outside the bathroom is just a bunch of like Chinese dads. I guess the wives were shopping or whatever. And the bathroom just smells horrible. It smells horrible in there. It just smells like shit. There's like piss and everything all over. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is supposed to be like a nice retail shop. All the retail shops I go to, I thought I went to, they don't smell like that. And then there's like all these signs around the bathroom being like, we don't have air fresheners because certain people steal them, but the sign is like really big in Chinese first and then in English, and it's like they only have a certain, like only one roll of toilet paper, and they're like, because certain people steal the toilet paper, and like they had to like upgrade their soap machines or something. Apparently they had just regular soap dispensers, but people were stealing them, so they had to bolt it down. And I'm like, oh god, like so it's just, and then I go outside. After I get out of that stinky-ass bathroom, I see these two older Chinese women, and they're fighting over something. It looks like a blender. I don't know what, it could have been a speaker or something, but they're all getting angry about it. And I'm seeing one Japanese staff trying to be like, you know, yamete kudasai, like, you know, oh, yamenasai, like, please stop. And she's like, you know, 中国のスタッフを呼んで, like, you know, like they're like, yeah, like get the Chinese staff over here. And the Japanese the Japanese staff members just trying to tell them, like, look, we have one in the back. Like, you don't need to fight over this. We'll get you another one. But the two old ladies, they weren't hearing it at all. And they're just causing a huge scene. And I'm like, this is just like on a 7 p.m. in Akihabara on a Wednesday. And I'm seeing this happen. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I'm walking through the whole shop. And like 90% of the people there are Chinese. And I'm like, why? Okay, they're buying all this stuff. I get it. And I was just curious. I was like, I Googled like Chinese shopping problem Japan or something. And I guess there's been an issue. I don't know how true this is, but apparently like the Chinese rich people that don't want to travel, they'll hire people to go over to Japan and buy stuff for them and then bring it back to Japan. And I guess Japan's been having a big issue with that, and they're like making a blacklist of people that come over and do that, because I don't think that they're buying it to resell it, but they're buying so much stuff, but it's duty free and they need to be paying tax or something on it. And I was just like, damn, like that's, I mean, like, as long as they're not pissing people off and they're not reselling anything, I don't really see a problem with that. I mean, like, Japanese technology is good for a reason, right? But, yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, seeing something like that, I was like, that's the first time in a while that I've been confronted with that, of, like, just people being jerks. And there's plenty more examples of this, too, that we're going to jump into. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about? I've got, I rambled on for like 20 plus minutes here and about just random shit, and it's good though. Like, it needs to be talked about, but it's just like, come on, bro. I don't like having to talk shit about the people. Like, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's fun to point out people being retarded and shit, but it's just like, it offends me. Because before I knew about Japan, I knew about China. And it's because I used to watch a bunch of kung fu movies as a kid growing up. And, like, I know that most of those were Hong Kong based and not real mainland China based or whatever. But, like, that was, like, my first exposure to China. I thought it was, like, this deep, cool culture where, like, people got along with each other. And, like, they would occasionally fight, but they had, like, their own, like, style and everything. It was so cool. And then, like, you look at it and it's like, well, they released viruses into the world that fuck up the whole world, and they don't take accountability for it. They constantly steal technology from other countries. Like, people think the whole spy thing is like sending physical spies to a country these days, but nah, it's all like cyber attack bullshit, like whether it's North Korea, like stealing a bunch of Bitcoin from someplace. I mean, like, it's funny because, like, right now there's a Japanese guy on trial, I think, in China for being a spy. And I remember there was one story about, it was a Japanese dude, and no, was it a Japanese guy? It was an Asian guy, so it would have either been a Chinese American or like a Japanese guy, but he was working for this like regular company, and I think it turns out that he was like a legit spy. Like, they had him on film, like, going and doing stuff. I mean, that's the fucked up thing about China. They film everywhere. There's CCTV camera, like security government cameras everywhere for the most part. And so, like, they found out this guy was a spy, and they went to where he was working, and I bet he did something that really pissed them off, because they just shot him right in front of his fucking coworkers, It's not. I might have just mentioned that earlier in the rant. I'm actually continuing this rant on another day right now, so I don't know if I mentioned that before, but it's just like even in America, if you got caught spying, there's at least a trial, and they're not going to kill you at least immediately. But China just didn't give a shit, And I don't know. It's like when you have a country like that it becomes what is it? Like, it becomes richer because it rips off like stuff and ideas from countries that are freer than that. I mean, like, everything's got to have a yin and yang, right? I mean, like, that's the unfortunate truth about reality. When you have black, you gotta have white. When you have peace, you gotta have war. You can't just have peace everywhere. There's always gotta be war some places, too. And same thing, I guess, for all these countries that have freedom of speech, you have countries that don't have freedom of speech. And, I guess it, like, comes down to that whole, like, hater kind of like argument, right? It's like you get angry at haters online because you don't like, you know, a normal person would see a hater comment, they're like, this is another person online. Like, why is this person who is a fellow human being mean to me when I don't know who they are and I haven't done anything to them, right? And it's like kind of the same logic. You'll see these people that are like that guy who got arrested during the I don't think it was the Olympics. It was like some kind of like event, like World Cup or something. And this guy got arrested for wearing like a rainbow shirt in like there in an Arabic country or whatever. And then I think that guy actually died. I forgot what happened. Maybe he got pneumonia or something. But it's like he's like, yeah, gay people, and it's like, nah, that shit don't fly there. That shit does not fly there at all. You can do that in freedom of speech country, but you can't do that there. And it's like the entitlement of these people thinking that they can push on their shit. Like I have like I was mentioning it today on like a live stream that on Takashi from Japan, he uploaded a short of like interviewing this Muslim chick, and she's not complaining at all. She's not complaining at all about like Japan or whatever, but she was just saying how it's kind of hard for her to find like Muslim food and like, you know, places that are accepting of Muslims or whatever. And I just wrote down in a comment section, I was like, you know, when you go to another country, you adapt to it. You don't wait for it to adapt to you. And all these fucking leftist retards just jumped in there. There's probably like 250 replies to that. And anyway, I replied to it, and I like, you know, I finally replied to it after like a month, and I was just like, it must be nice being a Muslim. You get to move anywhere in the world, and then to make demands about how that country needs to fit your needs, and when it doesn't, you cry victim. Like, you know, imagine if you were a non-Muslim and you went to a Muslim ridden country like that, and then you try to make those demands. You would not even like, you know. If they won't even let women, like, it's like, well, Indonesia's a Muslim-run country, and they're like, nah, there's a big difference between Asian Muslims and brown-skinned people and the desert Muslims, and those are the majority of Muslims in the world, right? So it's like, you know, those are the ones that are going to the West and stuff and making it such a great Sharia law country and stuff, right? So it's just like, but anyway, I wrote that down there. And of course, like, nobody replies after that because it's like, oh yeah, shit, yeah, you kind of. It's like you can't have this double standard, right? And the same thing with the Chinese stuff. It's like it makes me angry because you see all these politicians. You know, it's not even like you got to think about like who's letting these people in to treat regular people shittily. You know, because it's like at the end of the day, we're all human, right? We're all on our side when the aliens come. And so we've got to, like, you know, like, it's team human, go all the way. But then you get all this stupid fucking infighting. And, like, it pisses me off when I see, like, Chinese people come, like, that video I mentioned earlier where it's, like, Chinese people went to this food stand in Asakusa. And they have all these food on sticks. And the Chinese people just come up, they try a bite, and they're like, yeah, I don't really like this. And, like, you know, I asked my Chinese buddy, I'm like, do they have that in China where you can, like, just get a free sample and then put it down and say you don't like it? He's like, no, we don't do that in China. I mean, you can ask for somebody and they might give you a piece, but the vendor will give it to you. You don't just take it. And I'm like, oh, so that lady was just being an entitled cunt. Yeah. And it's like, but the cops won't do anything about it because they don't want to cause a scene. And it's just at the end of the day, like, we have to change this country into more of a fucking stricter country where you can't have that fun and innocence they had before because the politicians don't do. I mean, this is the same reason why I don't freak out about nuisance streamers anymore, like the Johnny guy or whatever, because it's like, I don't like what they're doing, but if the cops and the politicians aren't going to do anything about it, then fuck it. I'm not going to complain. They're the ones that are in charge. They're the ones that need to fucking change shit. And if they're not willing to do it for their own goddamn country, then why am I, a foreigner, having to defend this shit, you know? Like defend them going after these guys, you know? It's just, it's tiring, you know? But yeah, I have a whole list, a laundry list here of things that Chinese people have done that pissed me off here in Japan. And again, just for, you know, just for, not brevity, what is it, like, just for transparency's sake, I don't have a problem against Chinese people. There's tons of, like, they are, like, the biggest population in most foreign countries for foreigners, right? Like, well, I mean, I don't know, they used to be, I don't know about now, but, with all the displaced brown people, but, Chinese people, you know, like, you could go to any country and there's gonna be, like, a Chinatown there, pretty much, right? And so, like, there's a lot of Chinese people that were so fed up with China, they left China, right? And So, like, if you wanted to learn a language that's Asian that will be used around the world, more than likely you're going to have a better chance with using actual Mandarin or Chinese, because there's so many of them in all these other countries, right? But it's not so much that I have beef with China and Chinese people. It's more about the government, but also the retarded people that come over as tourists and fuck everything up. And holy shit, it's snowing now in Tokyo. God damn it. I'm sitting here on a Monday, and it was raining all day today, and it's snowing a little bit. I mean, but snow doesn't stay snowy in Tokyo. It melts as soon as it touches the ground. But it's a slightly bit snowy. It's not like a blizzard, but it's like half rain, half like little snow things. And that's nice. Tokyo's been dry for a while, so it needs a nice shower to hydrate the country and all this shit, so that's nice. But yeah, it's just like the Chinese government encourages nationalism. They encourage the hate of other countries, and like you've seen it. Like there was I think it's been twice now. There's been 2 times. I think it was in Shanghai. I can't remember the city, but so like there's Japanese companies that operate in China, right? And those companies have their kids go to Japanese international schools within China. So they learn about Japan and all this other stuff. So when they come back to Japan, when they move back eventually, the kids can go back into school like nothing happened, right? And so far there's been 2 attacks. This woman and her kid, they were just waiting for a bus, and some piece of shit guy came up and he tried killing them. And this one Chinese woman, beautiful, amazing Chinese woman, she came in there and she tried to stop him, and she got killed too. I don't know if the son and the mom got killed, but I know the Chinese woman defending them, she got killed. And then the other guy, there was another guy, and I think he killed a kid. Or he stabbed a kid in the neck. I don't know if if he lived, but I'm guessing if he gets stabbed, they're probably not. But yeah, it's just like they constantly show propaganda of like hating Japan on there when they benefit so much from Japan all the time. So when Chinese people come to Japan, they're more incentivized to be douchebags and be assholes. And there was this one famous case of this guy who he came to Japan and he spray painted toilet, the word toilet in English, on Yasukuni Jinja, which is a shrine that's in a very rich area of town where like all the TV studios are. Not all of them, but a lot of TV studios like TBS are and stuff. And it's like the one escalator in all of Japan. I mean, there might be more, but it's the one temple that I know, or shrine in Japan that I know, that has an escalator that you can ride to like have it take you because it's like up on these high stairs. And yeah, and it's but a lot of Chinese people don't like it because war criminals from World War II or even from before that, they're buried there. Like they have their ashes kept there. And those people don't like that, they're like, these people they hurt the country, like they hurt us, you should not be immortalizing them at the shrine. And the way Japanese people see it is like, look, during times of war, there's people that follow orders, and if you've ever been part of a bureaucracy or some system like that, you know that you just follow these orders that you're given. But I mean, you look at any country, and from my point of view, because I'm American, right, my point of view is just like every country's done something fucked up. It just depends on who you want to pick that day, nobody's innocent when it comes to war. And yeah, but it's like if some Japanese politicians want to think of it as, well, hey, these guys were following orders and they helped out Japan somehow or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's classy for them to do that, but I'm not going to tell them not to do that. As long as by doing that, that doesn't encourage future people to do the same thing, I'm all for it. But I think that's why a lot of other Asian countries, like I remember Justin Bieber went there one time, and he got in so much trouble because like that's the one shrine that you do not go to in Japan. Like that just pisses off all the other Asians. So, but anyway, the Chinese guy went there. He spray painted toilet. He peed on there. They filmed it, and the idiot was still in Japan when he did that. And like, why would you still be in Japan after you did that? And so supposedly that guy went back to China and he got like blacklisted social credit shit like crazy. Like the guy's like, I can't find a job, I can't do all this stuff. So he got punished, but it would have been nice to see Japan actually like, you know, like that was another thing that kind of pissed me off. I saw this Japanese guy who took a video of the dude on the train, but it's like, fucking grab him, get the cops involved. Like, you have him on video defacing like this very famous, I don't think it's World Heritage, but it's definitely a historical monument, you know, and this guy's defacing it. And like, nah. But I mean, I guess Japan in a way they're happy that it happened, because they don't want to cause like, they don't want like a, what do you call it, like a Tyrion Lannister thing in Game of Thrones where you know, Catherine captures Tyrion and it's like, oh, you're starting a war, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, like China probably didn't want to have to defend that guy or whatever, right? You know, so it's probably better politically that it worked out that way. But it's like, if I was a Japanese person, not a foreigner, but if I was a Japanese person, I saw that shit and I saw that guy, I would have fucking held him down and be like, call the cops, he's got a gun, call the cops, and then be like, when the cops come, be like, oh, sorry, I just needed the cops to come, like, fucking, like, he defaced that thing, put him in jail, you know? Start a war with China. I don't know. But it's just like, you see stuff like this constantly where it's just like disrespecting Japan, right? Like, there was a whole thing about Chinese tourists herding the deer in Nara. For all of you guys who don't know, Nara is this little, it's this prefecture that's underneath or near Osaka. And I don't know what it's famous for, aside for it has this big giant Buddha. It has like the biggest wooden temple structure in the world. And they've just got like a giant Buddha inside there, and I think he's laying down. I can't remember if he's laying down or if he's sitting. But and then around that area, they've got all these wild deer that like, they're really small. I've seen deer in America that are like 2 or 3 times bigger, and I'm not talking elk. I'm talking about regular sized deer. So the deer here in Japan, they're really small, and they're part of the tourism thing is that you go there and you give them these crackers that they sell. But a lot, and I'm not even stressing this, like a lot of Chinese people that are filmed by Japanese people, they're feeding them like stuff that they shouldn't be eating. And I'm not talking about like, oh, they're giving them like convenience store snacks or something. Like, no, like some deer, not a lot, but some deer have been found to have their stomachs full of like shopping bags. Like, these Chinese tourists are going there and they're feeding them trash, because the deer are so hungry, they just want to eat some shit, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. That's not good. And then you saw this one video of these Chinese people, and they're hitting the deer, like they're slapping them or whatever. There's this one video of a guy, I don't know if they ever verified if he was Chinese or not, but there was a guy, and he kicked these deer. These deer were on a path, and he was just going and kicking them. And again, I'm angry for Japan, because Japanese people are nice, and I don't think they want to start shit. Like, in my experience, if I did something to piss off Japanese people, they've been more than loud. Like, they've been more than, they have not been silent, small samurai people. They've been, they've told me, like, hey, you can't do that or something. But when you're in a crowded area and you don't know what's going on, you just caught a glimpse of it, I'd understand if no one's going to do anything. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that it's like, you know, people do stuff because they think they can get away with it, right? Like doing shit like that, like hurting other things like that, right? And so that makes me angry, because it's like, I'm not like a hippie who loves animals or anything. Like I you know, I'm more on the Asian mindset when it comes to animals, how it's just like, well, this is food, or it is like it's a guard dog or something, right? Like, this animal serves a practical purpose and I like it, but at the end of the day, I remember it's not a human. It is fun, but like, I never forget, like, you know, there's some people that are like the dog parents or whatever they call it, where they're like, this is my son, and I'm like, that's a dog. You're just so ugly that you never got anyone to fuck you to like have a kid. Like, come on, like, you know, but anyway, I mean, I'm just saying that like, people can say they have awesome relationships with animals or whatever, but I think that there's some people that take it too far, and they're like, this is a family member. Like, I don't know, I saw this video of this black lady who kicked this tiny chihuahua the other day, and like, there's this guy outside arguing with these black neighbors or something, and he's arguing with them while he's got these 2 little funny, like, stupid yappy dogs outside. And if you guys have been on my live streams at all, you'll know how I feel about small dogs. I really don't like them. I think they're good if you want your grandma's house not to get broken into and you want them to be barking and stuff, but they are so annoying. They're so small. And anyway, these dogs are barking and shit, and you have these like angry fucking stupid ass people arguing with this guy, and they're both just super obese and disgusting. And the little dog is there, and the woman goes and kicks the dog, and it flies like 10 feet or something. And look, I don't like animal abuse. I don't like seeing it, but at the same time, if you have a stupid yappy dog and you're dealing with these crazy ass people, and you can just get a vibe that they're crazy, put your fucking dogs in the house, you idiot. Like, this is a reason why you get a big dog. You see some fat ass ladies coming over here talking shit, but you got your Rottweiler with you or something to be like, yeah, what is it, ladies? What can I help you out with? And I'm like, kill, B, they killed Killer B. Yeah, he was born into a three-legged bitch of a mom, and he was always ashamed of this. But anyway, I mean, the whole point is just like Asians don't really treat animals that well. That's the stereotype. I mean, fucking, like, there's the dog festival in China and, like, Korea for a reason, right? Like, they see animals as livestock pretty much. But, it's starting to change. But at the same time, it's just like, look, like, this whole... Like, if there's not going to be somebody there to watch how people are treating the animals, they should not have that be an exhibit there, And because then you'll have people like that constantly doing shit like feeding trash to the animals and having them die. Because the animals are stupid and they don't know any better. Yeah. So, what else? I got tiny little notes here. Oh, yeah, there was like another one where it's like... just Chinese people being rude. Like, I saw this video of this Chinese person trying to check into a hotel, and I forgot why they were complaining about the price, even though the price didn't change or something. And they noticed that one of the staff is Taiwanese, and he's like, yo, Taiwanese, right? Like saying in Chinese, be like, yeah, well, is Taiwan real China? Tell me. And I'm just like, God, you fucking piece of shit. Like, again, these guys used to only be allowed to come here if you were in a tour group or if you were super rich. And I mean, like Jay-Z rich kind of thing. And so, like, if you had people to keep those people in check, and if they did something bad, the person from the tour group reports it to the fucking tour group, the tour company, and the tour company reports that to the government, and that person's not allowed to go abroad anymore. But these people, because they don't get called out on this, they're just allowed, like, there's no way for Japan to really report them to China. So these people can constantly come here and just act like entitled bitches. And, yeah, it pisses me off, because it's just like, look, like, if you don't like Japan, don't come here. Like, if your country is so fucking awesome, don't come here. It's that simple. They're like, yeah, well, Japan did all... Yeah, that was like 70 years ago. Fucking get over it, dude. It's not like that now, and no matter how hard you want to be angry, you should be angry at shit your own government does. Like locking old ladies in their house during COVID. Like starting COVID. like having black prisons to throw people in, having to use your ID to buy trains to travel, like, having like a Nazi state, like that is literally Nazi shit, and their country's doing it. And I don't know what else, like in scamming too. There's this whole thing, like I went over to my friend's house the other day, and there was all these signs in the lobby, and it's and it's like a fairly decent like looking place, like like my place is an old piece of shit, but like his place is fairly new, and there were all these signs, English and Chinese, and it said there are no Airbnbs allowed here. Oh, it didn't say Airbnb, it said Minpaku, so there's no lodging available here. Do not, if you're staying here, that's illegal or something. And I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh, there's Chinese rich people who bought a couple apartments here, and they've just been Airbnb-ing it. And I'm like, well, how are they allowed to Airbnb it? Like, can't the government or like the people that own this tower or whatever, can't they look that up online? And he's like, yeah, but they're not using Airbnb, they're using the Chinese version of Airbnb. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, there's a Chinese version of everything. There's a Chinese version of Uber. There's a Chinese version of Airbnb. And so they use that, and the government doesn't know about it. And I'm like, come to think about it, I've seen a lot of Chinese people like getting dropped off in vans and stuff in like big groups. And they're obviously tourists because they have all these suitcases. And he's like, yeah, like a lot of companies are operating under the table. And I don't know. I mean, like, how do you track that? I guess you go online and find those people and find out where they're operating. But yeah, there's a lot of people doing sketchy shit like that, and especially Chinese are smart entrepreneurs. I'll give them that. You know, when they see a way to make a quick buck and not get in trouble, like they jump on that. And it's funny because it's not like drug dealing, because drug dealing is too much risk and a little reward, you know. Like, you can sell drugs for probably a lot of money here, but the chance of getting snitched on is pretty high. But if you have a system like that where you're like, okay, I'm using like a online app that's not accessible by the Japanese network or something, and unless you have a Chinese phone and blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's smart. God, like, they're probably making so much money. I'm sitting here being poor. I should be Chinese. You know. Hold on, let me get Oh, it's so good. But yeah, it's just like, you know, I'd really like to know, like, what is the ratio of people just being disrespectful and everything? Because, you know, it's like, even if, like, you know, all these places, they always have, like, places to throw away your trash or whatever. And, like, even at my place, when I was taking out my trash, like, not this week, but, like, last month or whatever, there was a guy who was cleaning up there, and, I don't know, maybe he works for the building or something, but he was cleaning up, and he's like, hey, did you separate your trash right? And I was like, excuse me? And I'm like kind of like a bitch ass, like, excuse me, motherfucker? What the fuck did I just hear you saying? But he's like, do you separate your trash? And, like, I always separate I mean, like, I've seen places in, like, for example, like, I don't know, Aichi. I saw people complaining about that on Twitter once, where it's like, if you go to, like, certain places around Japan, they really are anal about you separating all your trash. Like, you have to separate the plastics. You got to separate, like, the styrofoam, like, trays. You got to make sure they're washed before you do that. You have to separate cans and bottles and all this shit. And, I mean, in Tokyo, you still have to, separate all the recyclables, but there's basically burnable trash and non-burnable trash, and just don't mix those with recyclables. And so I don't drink anything that's in a can anymore. All the stuff that I have is usually PET bottles, like plastic bottles, and the occasional glass bottle. But yeah, like, everything for the most part, like, I don't really have any. When they say non-burnable trash, they mean like appliances for the most part, like I don't know, like VCRs or shit, like something like that, where it's hard to throw away. And, like, that stuff, you, if it's really big, you gotta actually you gotta call the government to come pick it up, and you gotta pay for it at the convenience store. It's a pain in the ass. But sometimes people, like, even at my place, they don't separate it. And so, like, when that guy asked me, I was like, I didn't get angry, but I was just like, what? Like, you know, and I was like, oh, you assume me, the guy who speaks Japanese, is not. I was like, you know, Mira ba wakaru, you know, I'm like, if you want to check it, you know, the kakuni shitai, like, you know, do you want to check my trash? Because I was like, I got nothing to hide in there, right? But, I mean, if you can't even follow simple instructions on separating your trash, especially when it's not like Nagoya, where you're having to be, like, super anal about it, then, I don't know, it's like, there's simple rule, like, the whole thing is like, don't break don't break the law, but you can break the rules, kind of thing, right? And it's like, for me, I'm like, if there's a stupid rule, I'll probably not follow it. But if it's a rule that means that I'm not inconveniencing other people, then, like, you know, then I'll follow it, right? Like, for the trash separating thing, I understand. I don't want to, because, like, I've never worked as a garbage man, but I have done blue-collar style jobs like that before, and I know that it's just, those guys get looked down on so much, and there's people that actively go out of their way to fuck with them. So it's like, make their life harder. I'm like, I don't ever want to make somebody in that position. I don't ever want to make their life hard, you know? But if it's like something stupid, like you can't cross the road until it's a green light when you're walking, and I'm like, well, it's 2 a.m. There's no cars here. Well, too bad. I'm like, nah, I'm not following that. I'm not following that. Like, nah, it's stupid. If it's like, hey, don't eat, like, food in the library, it's like, oh yeah, well, library is pretty sterile smell. And yeah, so you're gonna make it all stinky, and there might not be people who like that food, and also you're gonna be loud. So like, yeah, like the rule of life is don't fuck with other people, and that's it. Like that's all it is, right? And I'm not talking about cryptic fucking where it's like, oh, well, Teacher Sam said this, and so he's going to make all Gaijin look... No, that's your opinion. That's your perspective, and you're wrong. But it's like, if they just don't fuck with people, like, directly, you know? That's all it is. Because there's always going to be people misinterpreting what you're doing and being selfish about it and being entitled. But, again, it's just like, good rule of thumb is just like, don't fuck with other people, you know? And, yeah, so I've got defacing the temples, and yeah, the clinic. Also, there was like a big thing recently, like a month or maybe a month or two ago at this point. But there was this Chinese guy. He's a young guy. He's like 14 or whatever. He's going to Japanese school. I don't know the whole situation, but he's a Chinese kid that might have grown up here. But he went to a clinic, and this clinic gave him a form, and it was basically saying, are you going to follow the rules? Are you going to pay and not run out on your bill? And you know, when you see stupid shit like that, it's because people have not followed the rules and they did run out on their bill. And so this Chinese kid's like, they discriminated against me because I was a foreigner. And it's like, shut up, bitch. Like, no, like, it's like, dude, like, do you want to work? Like, I've always been of the mindset that it's like, get in where you fit in, you know? Like, if you want to move into some place where the owner's being a racist asshole, then don't move in there. He doesn't deserve your money. But I want that apartment. Why would you want to give money to somebody who's acting like that? Like, screw it, right? Like, I had a dentist, and when I, like, you know, not this year, but, like, last year in 2024 that I started going to, because I didn't want to go to my dentist in Ueno anymore, and the guy was just an asshole. Like, he gave me this form in English and all this stuff, and he was just, like, it was literally, like, pulling teeth, you know? The guy was such an asshole. He made every step of the process just a pain in the ass. And I remember I had a hole in my tooth, and I was like, doctor, I need your help. I got a hole. It's really painful. Can you help me? And he's like, I can talk to you in 2 weeks. I walked by his dentist shop. There's nobody in there. It's just like they're waiting for people. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'll go. I went to another dentist the day afterwards, called up that the first dentist. I was like, yeah, sorry, I got to cancel. Why do you got to cancel? Because you told me 2 weeks, asshole. And, but I can only assume that guy was angry because he had dealt with some asshole foreigners in the past. I have no way of really knowing it. I mean, I guess I could go back there and ask him, but the whole point is like, if you be the example you want to be, you know? Be the example you want to show. It's like Gandhi said when he wasn't cheating on his wife or something. Like, you know, it's just like, you know, be the example you want to see in the world or whatever, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. And so, yeah, I just... I don't know. I mean, like, there's all these, like, YouTubers that are Japanese that are trying to, like, rebuild their reputation that by going to, like, these parks and then, like, calling out these Chinese people and being like, hey, you did that, you son of a bitch, I saw you do that. I think they, like, you know, if they wanted to go full circle, they should just bring a Chinese person or a Chinese-speaking person with them and be like, how do you justify that? What are you doing, you know? But, like, just making videos and just... is like that Simpsons thing, like Saddam Hussein, more like so damn insane. Hey, you're just fanning the flames of hate. He's like, I don't know. I mean, like, again, like the real change is with the cops or with the politicians, and the cops never pick these guys up or they never press charges because they don't want like an international incident, right? But it's just I don't know. I mean, like it's. I wonder if it's just like a thing of ignorance or the cops just don't believe people when they report it, or it's just that they're getting told by their bosses, don't do anything about it. I mean, pretend to do stuff about it, but like don't actually go ahead and file the you know, charges or whatever. Like just make them feel like we're doing stuff, but whatever. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you have any Chinese tourists that are doing so? I remember it used to be worse, right? Sometimes they would like have their kids just shit on the floor or something, or piss or shit into drains, like really just poor people shit. That's like some India stuff right there. Yeah, but it's like I don't think it's gotten that bad recently. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the whole world is just basically like all these developed countries are not having kids because it's so fucking. It's just not comfortable. You got to be poor. You got to move to like the place that's not where you want to live in just to afford kids, and then even then you don't really have any strong communities to really encourage you to have kids that you're being a part of, and then you're having all these people that are coming from third world countries to come and do labor in your fucking country, and they don't care about being poor because even being poor in your country is better than being poor in the other country, and they want to have kids, and they've got big foundations of all this stuff in the back, and I don't know, it's just funny. I saw this video when I was live streaming earlier while I was browsing Twitch or Twitter, and it's like this woman's in like a nightclub, and this Indian guy's just like groping her, and she's like, "Hey, stop, stop!" And he's like, "Sorry," and then he just keeps doing it. She's filming him doing it. I'm like, "Well, yeah, this is what you voted for, baby. You know, you don't want this. Get more active in politics. Vote against it. You know." Because I don't know. I mean, there's complaining about it, and then there's just like not. It's just like you're yelling at a wall. There's nothing happening, right? And the only reason why I'm really recording this is just, well, one, I wanted to talk about the Chinese tourists being bad, but also it's just like this isn't like a new thing, right? It's been going on for decades here, but it's just I don't know. I feel like when we talk about these, we can at least think of solutions. Like I remember when I was on an interview live stream with John Dobb, I was suggesting just copy the passport number of people's passport. Like get when the cops stop them if they did something bad, get the name, get the passport number, and then when they go to immigration to fly out of the country, be like, yeah, this is a fine. You did all this shit, and the cop told you you'd be fined by this. So you either pay the fine or you're not allowed back in the country for like 10 years. And it's like, well, and it's like, oh, I don't have $200. Yeah, you do. You got a credit card. You came here. You got $200. Pay the fucking fine or don't come back. You know, like Singapore's like that. Well, I don't know if they're like that with the immigration, but they're like, yeah, you pay a fine or you get your ass kicked kind of thing. And I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things where like it's like that political cartoon where there's a white guy and he's like watering a tree that says like Islam, and the guy's wearing a t-shirt that says Europe, and then he's got like a rope like connected to his neck, and he's just like waiting for the tree to grow to hang him. And I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's just like I feel like you can't develop your side of the playground if you keep letting all these other people into it, and you're not taking care of the people in the playground. Like then you're just being a weak leader, and then it's gonna be taken over by other kids in the playground, and then it's just gonna be destroyed. It's gonna be turned into shit, you know. And it's gonna be like pretty much Africa after they gave power back to everyone. You know, it's like, come on, like the other guys were bad, but all that work and all that suffering was for nothing. You guys just got the country and then you turned it to shit. South Africa doesn't have any fucking water, you know. Come on. But I digress. I don't know. I'm basically just killing time until 3 more minutes until this rant ends. This has been a whole week. Like last week I only made 2 rants just because I was busy. I didn't have enough time in the morning to make them, and I usually make these in the morning. And right now I'm making this, and it's gonna be almost 2 p.m. I did a live stream of Rare premiere on Monday instead of Sunday. I premiered a new video and we did a live stream, and that was really fun. And we found out one of my viewers who always comes in, he made up this lie about moving to Japan for some reason. Yeah, Natty, I'm talking about you. It was just weird because it's like he always comes in of this like I'm so cool alpha male energy, and we just kind of tolerate it. But then it's just like, I'm moving to Japan, can't talk to you guys for a while, and then it just turns out he didn't move to Japan. He just didn't move. He was just lying for no reason to people that don't know him. It's like, what the fuck's wrong with you, bro? Like, you know, like we were being nice to you, and we were legitimately hoping that you were moving to Japan, and now you're just, you like, why? Why? I bought a new gun. Okay, well, what about the money that you were going to spend on the Japan trip? Dad, I have all this money. I'm going to go. And I'm like, you were just, like, why? What's your problem, dude? Like, why? Like, you had a group of people that cared about you, that wanted you to like go and succeed, and now you just alienated yourself from everybody. It's just so stupid. Like you had all this goodwill, and now nobody likes you because you lied. I don't know. It's just silly. But anyway, yeah, that was some fun stuff we dealt with today. I've still got a whole week ahead of me. It's going to be raining all week, but it's It's good. I got more people coming this month, and it's gonna be great to see them. I haven't seen them in like a year or so, so that'll be nice. And yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about projects. I need to get some videos out of the way and get them done. So then we've got I have more free time to go film. I want to go do some more collabs this month with people. I want to go film some of those food reviews, and it'll be good. But anyway, yeah, guys. I mean, I got my journal right here, so I'm gonna go write in that for a bit. But yeah, tell me, what do you guys think about this topic? I would love to hear your stories of Chinese tourists being bad boys or bad girls where you are. If you have any stories you remember, let me know in the comments down below. Did you smash like button? And yeah, and leave a comment. And the secret comment of the day is spicy Chinese chicken. Write some kind of sentence with spicy Chinese chicken in it. And we'll probably do a live stream right after this. So, like always, thank you guys so much for the love. You know, you guys are amazing. You're very sexual. And I will talk to you when I talk to you. I'll talk to you later. Okay, stay black, guys. Otsukare-sama deshita. Yeah, buddy.